June 6, 1944. Somewhere near Rouen, France, a silver P-51 Mustang cut through the smoky afternoon sky, trailing a thin ribbon of oil and fire. Lieutenant Thomas Fraser of the 334th Fighter Squadron had lost his bearings amid the chaos of D-Day. His Mustang, bearing the code QPG and nicknamed Jerry, struck the French countryside hard. Fraser survived, but his war was over. His aircrafts, however, had just begun. Within days, German recovery teams, masters of salvaging Allied wrecks, arrived. They recovered the largely intact fighter and shipped it north to Rechlin, the Luftwaffe's secret testing center near Lake Müritz. There, German engineers began something few Allied pilots could have imagined, turning one of America's best weapons into their own flying laboratory. Painstakingly rebuilt from cannibalized parts and repaired under strict supervision, Fraser's Mustang emerged weeks later bearing unfamiliar markings, black crosses, yellow identification panels, and a new code, T9+HK. The Germans called it part of the Wanderzirkus Rosarius, or Rosarius Traveling Circus, a specialized Luftwaffe unit tasked with flying and evaluating captured Allied aircraft to expose their secrets. Formed in 1943 under Theodor Rosarius at the orders of Adolf Galland, the unit was designed to give German pilots what intelligence reports never could: first-hand experience with their enemy's machines. By mid-1943, the Luftwaffe was in crisis. American bombers struck deep into the Reich, protected by mysterious long-range fighters whose true performance remained uncertain. Reports from combat pilots were inconsistent, colored by adrenaline and chaos. Rosarius understood that only direct testing could reveal the truth. His traveling circus gathered every flyable Allied aircraft: Spitfires, Thunderbolts, Lightnings, and now the Mustang, and repaired them to operational condition for systematic flight tests and traveling demonstrations across Europe. At Rechlin, engineers worked miracles. Without manuals or spare parts, they reverse-engineered the P-51's Packard-built Merlin engine, a 1,490-horsepower marvel derived from the Rolls-Royce design. The 450 caliber Brownings were removed and replaced with ballast. The airframe was strengthened, the fuel system resealed, and the hydraulics rebuilt. When it finally roared back to life, the Mustang's deep-throated Merlin shattered the morning quiet over the German countryside. What followed would challenge every assumption German pilots had about American engineering. For years, Luftwaffe propaganda had mocked U.S. aircraft as crude, mass-produced machines built for numbers, not finesse. But as Rechlin's test pilots climbed into the P-51's cockpit, those beliefs began to crumble. The cockpit layout was ergonomic, the gauges clear, the controls harmonized with an ease that German fighters lacked. Even before takeoff, pilots noticed something remarkable: visibility, comfort, and thoughtful design that prioritized the pilot's endurance on long missions. Then they opened the throttle. The Packard Merlin responded smoothly, power building in a steady surge as the Mustang accelerated down the runway. Once airborne, the aircraft felt alive, balanced, stable, responsive. The controls were perfectly harmonized across the speed range, offering precision without twitchiness, stability without sluggishness. Its roll rate rivaled the FW-190. Its climb rate stunned test crews. At over 30,000 feet, the Mustang's two-stage supercharger kept it powerful and fast, where German single-stage engines wheezed in thin air. The implications were terrifying. American fighters could not only reach bomber altitudes, they could fight there effectively. Speed tests confirmed what combat pilots had suspected, but German command had refused to believe. The P-51B reached 440 miles per hour, outpacing both the Bf-109G and F-119A by wide margins. It could dictate combat, attack when it wished, flee when necessary, and never be caught by a pursuing German fighter. Its laminar flow wing, though imperfect in real conditions, gave it aerodynamic efficiency that extended both range and performance. In dives, it retained control where German aircraft stiffened dangerously. Even in turning fights, where the Bf-109 held an edge thanks to its leading-edge slats, the Mustang's pilots could use energy fighting, trading altitude for speed, to maintain dominance. The aircraft could climb, dive, and roll its way out of danger while bleeding its opponents dry of energy and options. German engineers studying the airframe marveled at its strength. Robust, redundant, and forgiving. Where German designs prized lightness and speed at the edge of structural limits, the Mustang favored survivability. It could take hits, bring its pilot home, and return to the air the next day. But perhaps the Mustang's most shocking attribute was its range. With external tanks, it could fly for more than 8 hours, escorting bombers from England to Berlin and back. German fighters, with barely 90 minutes of endurance, could no longer wait for Allied escorts to turn back. The bombers were now never alone. The Luftwaffe's entire interception strategy, built on attacking unescorted bombers, was obsolete. By late 1944, the Wanderzirkus Rosarius took T-9 Plaus HK on tour. From base to base, the surreal sight of a P-51 bearing German markings turned heads and quieted mess halls. Demonstrations began with low-altitude passes that blurred the air, followed by steep climbs that left even veteran FW-190 pilots speechless. Mock dogfights showed how the Mustang could dive, roll, and accelerate past its adversaries with ease. German pilots crowded around afterward, inspecting the cockpit, tracing their fingers along its instruments, and questioning the test pilots about tactics and countermeasures. These demonstrations were as much psychological as technical. They shattered illusions and forced German airmen to confront the truth. The Allies had not only matched them, they had surpassed them. The Mustang embodied an industrial and engineering philosophy Germany could no longer compete with. Powerful engines built in mass production, rugged airframes optimized for long missions, and aircraft that average pilots could fly well. One Luftwaffe pilot reportedly stepped from the captured Mustang's cockpit after a test flight and muttered, "If we had this, we'd still control the skies." But Germany didn't. By the time the P-51 appeared in numbers, it had become the long arm of Allied air power, escorting bombers deep into the Reich, strangling the Luftwaffe in its own airspace. Fraser's Mustang, born in America, lost in France, reborn in Germany, became more than a captured machine. It became a mirror reflecting a fading empire's last illusions. In the cold hangars of Rechlin and the skies above Europe, it told the Luftwaffe the truth. The air war was lost not just in the clouds, but in the factories, the blueprints, and the philosophy of a nation that had mastered the art of building freedom's wings.